Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a brand new week on the TheGoodCastShow. Today we're going to kickstart this week with our People's Voice segment, which is Agree to Disagree. Again, I thank you so much for the forms and the submissions you guys have been doing recently. Really love them. We have many people, everyday Joes, coming on to share their views on many concerning matters. So today we're going to start off on this Monday with a political science student, 21 years of age, very young, who's here to talk about his view on being Malaysian first, as well as how important education is to achieve that. Please welcome Jeremy. Jeremy, how are you, man?
Yeah, thank you. I'm doing very well. Thank you for inviting me.
No worries, man. Always a pleasure. Now, I want to start with understanding how your generation looks at politics and the current situation we have, right? So, how do your friends, your colleagues, interpret the kind of politics that we have today? Do you all relate to it? Do you all not relate to it?
Well, we do relate to it. Most of my friends now, I wouldn't say what party they are supporting, but they do kind of support a very race-based kind of politics now.
Okay.
Right?
Your friends?
Yes, my friends.
Okay.
There's one side where they support race-based politics, and another side where they support about economy. So if the economy is doing good, then they'll say, okay, we will vote for this party.
Okay.
But some, they will say, oh, we must, protect the race, the religion, a very race-based politics. Then they'll support parties that support the cause of it.
Which is the larger group you feel between the two?
Race-based politics.
Race-based
actually.
politics. By a lot?
70% to 30%.
Wow. What is the main reason why they support race-based politics?
I think the narrative that's playing out, Melayu terancam and all this and all that. So I think that narrative plays a very important role in playing a role in mind shaping their thoughts about politics. Yes.
And do they see any issue with these parties that play race-based? Are they concerned about the impact of identity politics to the country, the social fabric,
I think they are trying to achieve one motive, which is perpaduan Melayu. And when they achieve that, then maybe they will look at other stuff like economy, education. But the number one motive is Malays must be united.
Okay.
Yes. So I think that is the route they are going first. And to be honest, if Malay unity were to bring stability to the country, then we should not be afraid. What we should look at is the intention of it. Yes.
And in your opinion, what is the intention of it?
Of Malay unity.
Yeah.
I do hope it's about stability for our country. But maybe they're just trying to protect their rights and this land. So, yes, that is my...
Do you think that these people, your colleagues who support racial politics, do they consider other factors, or is it? I know you said that the race base is first, right? The protection of their race is first, but do they consider other things such as the ability of the candidates put forth by such parties? Do they see all that, or is it just we vote for the party that supports race-based politics?
No. They will also look at the capability of the person that is contesting. So, for example, if this person can do well for the country, can serve the people, then they will vote for these candidates as well.
What is their other option if the candidates put forth by these parties don't meet their standard?
Then they will choose maybe a candidate that is most probably their race. Yeah, so...
So again, it's all by race.
All by race. But I can tell you this, that although they support race-based politics, they are not racist or anything. For example, like I have a lot of friends that are Malays who support race-based politics, but they treat me very well, you see. And as long as you don't touch their politics, then it's okay.
When you say don't touch their politics, what do you
It
mean?
means you don't ask about stuff about very sensitive issues that can create racial tensions, you see.
Okay.
So keep it in the middle ground. Okay, you can voice out your concerns, voice out your opinions. It's like a discussion lah.
In your personal opinion, because you wrote in wanting to talk about being Malaysian first. Do you think racial politics stands in the way of that?
Yes, it does. Because we tend to always put ourselves as race first before being Malaysian first. So being Malaysian first does not mean that you put your race first. Although you can have unity in all of your own communities, but you must have a common goal. That means, okay, Malays united, Chinese united, Indians united, but the common goal is a united Malaysians together.
But do you think that race-based politics, because it's so emotive and so easy to use, right? Because again, it gets the voter either angry or fearful, it enacts emotions, right? Usually negative emotions. Do you think that these parties, the incentive, because they know that there is a large number of youth, as you say as well in your circles, who react to racial politics, that they will just continue playing it?
Well, again, they play by it, but you must understand the motive of it, the intentions of it. So if the intention is to have a greater Malaysia together, but of course it's a very sensitive issue to look at it. But if it's for a greater Malaysia, then I won't say it's acceptable, but this is Malaysia. You have to play the race-based card because our politics has been like this for more than 60 years already. And we can't really run away from this.
You don't see a change happening?
I do hope that there is change, but not in the near future.
But do you think that change won't happen because, and again, we oftentimes in these discussions, we point our fingers at the politicians. I feel that the politicians are just playing off what is already existing in the ground, right, on the ground level. So do you think that the responsibility of pushing Malaysia towards, as you say, a greater Malaysia, right, a better Malaysia, lies in the hands of the voters, perhaps friends like yours, who it is up to them to reject racial politics and say, look, we are who we are. I think we are all comfortable as who we are. We know where the boundaries are. We know each race and all that. That's fine, and our rights and all that. But let's talk about economic empowerment. Let's talk about education opportunities. Let's talk about reducing cost of living, things like that. So it's up to your friends to decide, right?
Yes, and we play a very important role in discussing about these issues and picking these issues. Of course, we as Malaysians must play the role on educating the young generation. And of course, not only the young generation, every Malaysians must be educated. That's why education is so important. When we learn about, so for example, the subject of history, the time when I learned history is a lot about political history. We don't have history like history of societies, history of culture. I think if we ingrain this kind of education into the young generation, we wouldn't have these problems of, picking race first, but we will look into more substantive issue like economy, cost of living, education, health,
You look at the parties playing race-based politics today. One of the things I notice is that because race is such a powerful narrative, those who play it tend to not, or even completely, very publicly admit that they are not going to make any promises. They're not going to make any pledges to the people.
Yeah.
Is that healthy for the country, you feel?
No. I mean, you don't go to election and then you say, I won't promise anything. You must have, that's why the manifesto is important. But we, as people of Malaysia, we can't just look at the manifesto and say, okay, I make sure that this government achieve all these manifestos. The manifesto is just a mirror to what the government will be doing for the next 5 years. So parties must also come out with a very realistic manifestos. Maybe they can say, okay, we hope to achieve an increasement of 5% of GDP within the next 5 years. Or we will allocate more seats for matriculation for non-Bumi students. Very realistic manifestos that can be achieved. So don't say that, we don't promise you anything. Then how does the people, the rakyat, decide whether is this a good government? Because you don't have a manifesto and you say, we won't promise anything. So, yeah.
So you are all for manifestos. You don't believe that you're not on the side of the people who say that look, manifestos are just empty promises. It's not going to be delivered after all and all.
Well, what I'm saying is that manifestos are important for the people to look and observe and have an understanding what does this government create for the next 5 years. So manifestos are important for me.
Okay. Now, if we look at the options available to us moving into GE16, there are political scientists who have said that if we choose one party or one coalition, that's Malaysia staying on course to a different version of itself. And that if by voting parties that are more race-based, then we are going back in terms of how we govern our nation. Because I think the issue is, when are we ever going to recognize ourselves as Malaysians first, right? If you look at Indonesia, I think they have overcome this and they gravitate more to being Indonesian first. That is why if you look at even the civil protests and all, it's very large scale, it's very big, and
Correct.
do you think race-based, if we go this route of electing race-based parties, that we will go back to how we were, say, in the 1970s, 1980s, where everything was divided along the lines of race?
Yeah, and I think it's a very dangerous game to play when you vote for race-based parties. But then again, you must see the political landscape of Malaysia. We had a Barisan National Government for more than 60 years. And the people have chosen the race-based politics. But now it is a different era. During those days, the 70s, 80s, maybe there were a lot of insecurities that happened within the community itself,
Yeah.
right? So they needed a race-based party to fight the cause of it, right? But now in this current era, I think people are more open-minded enough to accept a more multiracial party, multiracial coalition. So, in my opinion, we should start to give a chance for these multiracial parties. But not to say, the bigger parties must win and the smaller parties can't. That is also the mindset that must be changed by Malaysians. See, everything must start from a very small step, right?
So in this climate, if you're looking at your friends which is, to be honest, actually quite upsetting for me, because I was always under the impression that the younger generation would be more inclined towards parties that talk about more multiracial policies, macro policies for all. So when you look at parties like, say, Muda, Bersama and all this, that tend to go the route of policy politics, if you will, where they talk policy, they talk plans for the people. Based on the community you live, especially in your university, do you see these parties ever gaining relevance with that voter group?
No, because they will say, oh, this is a small party. What can they do? Then I would say, but we have to start somewhere. You're not going to vote for, race-based parties all the time, right? You have to give a chance for new faces, new parties to come up with a plan, right? So, in my opinion, these parties like Muda or Bersama, they need to have a better outreach within the young generation. And of course, they always talk about statistics and all and policies and all. They have to find a way to attract these kind of young voters to give them a chance to govern, or not even a chance to govern, to have at least a representative in the parliament, or even adun for say.
And you see that these parties then, do you think eventually they will be forced to go the route of race-based in order to maintain relevance?
Well, I hope they do not go to that route, but yes, eventually they have to, but I do hope that they won't, because each party has their own principles, right? When you say, okay, this time you have to go race-based already, although you are not a race-based party, then again the people will be delusioned and say, oh, all the parties same only.
What do you think is the main primary source of this insecurity among people around you, that they feel that their race is sort of under threat, when in reality it actually isn't?
You know?
There's no way it is.
Right. So it all comes back to education. I think we need to have a subject called civic education. And it was actually taught in schools, but during my time, it was gone. It's called Civic dan Kewarganegaraan. So basically, you learn about the constitution, political systems, right? The rights of the people and so on and so forth. The people today of Malaysians, they do not understand the constitution very well. Of course, in the constitution, it's already written, okay, the special rights of the Malays and Bumiputras are protected. Malay is the national language. Islam is the agama persekutuan. You don't need to be afraid already.
Correct.
Right? So, but I guess this is partly to be blamed by politicians, number one, because they kind of like to, use these narratives to scare, the people. And then number two is we do not get the right education to educate people this sort of stuff. Right? So there's no awareness into this kind of problems, which again, people tend to believe more on what they hear, and they do not do their own research, they do not read. That's the problem.
So you're telling me that even among your friends who are political scientists, political science undergraduates, none of them have ever sort of said, hey, wait a minute, this is all lies. There is no, my race is not under threat because it's enshrined in the Constitution, and I'm protected by that. So these are all lies simply to stoke my fears. No one has ever said that out loud?
Well, they are, but they still want to vote for these parties because their main objective is for Malay unity, as I said. So, of course, there'll be some people who say, oh, our kedudukan under threat and all. But majority of them, I also do not know why they like to support race-based politics.
Okay. One of the points that was raised in a recent event I went to, which was organized by one of these race-based parties, was that, and this was in a Q&A section, one of the points raised by one of the attendees there was that they blame the other communities for taking the call for Malay unity as a sign that other communities may be left behind or cast aside, right? But their point is no, the Malay unity is mutually exclusive. It doesn't impact other communities, and it does not mean that a government that preaches Malay unity or wants Malay unity will let the other races or communities go behind, be left behind. Do you agree with that?
About the Malay unity not...
sidelining other races.
Again, we have to see what is the intentions are. If they were to say that the Malay unity does not sideline any other community, then we have to see how is it like. Because we did have a very Malay-based government back in, I think, 2020 to 2022.
During
right?
COVID, yeah, muafakat.
Yes. So, do we see any rights being threatened by, the other communities' rights being threatened? I don't think so. Because the Constitution, again, as I said, protects the rights of the other communities as well.
But wouldn't you agree that Constitution says a lot of things and it is the highest line of the law, but the issue is not the Constitution, it's the interpretation of the Constitution that's the
Yes,
problem.
the interpretation of the Constitution. The terminology that's being used every time seems to... We don't understand the terminology sometimes. So, the politicians themselves must make it clear what are their intentions are.
Okay. And when you look at Malaysia now, the way it is, I always hear people saying that, we need to protect the different races, we need to stamp out racism and all that. Have you experienced racism at your level?
No. Actually, I have not experienced any racism. I myself have a lot of friends that are multiracial, and they are very good to me. The Malays, the Indians. My very good friend is an Indian, right? So, very fortunate for me, I never experienced racism before.
So you people like you who belong to that group who've never experienced racism on the ground, you do feel a level of disconnect between what is being said by the politicians and your lived reality?
Well, I understand what the politicians are trying to say, right? But if you don't need to experience racism, you just look in the social media today. So many bad comments about each other, racial tensions, like the news every day. You can feel that, this country, very racist already.
But again, that's a very interesting point that you bring up, because when we look at the studies that have been released recently, you look at the study that was released by the Deputy Minister of Unity, who said that 70% of the online comments dealing with racial hatred and all that were artificially created by AI, right? By bots and all that. You also see that in a recent expose by The Fourth, which is a news channel online, they interviewed members of certain social media agencies that can be paid to incite racial discontent or racial issues, right? They can hire influencers to create content that is racially insensitive. So my point being that all of this that we see online is not organic. It is synthetically made in a lab, basically, right? Shouldn't we as Malaysians start accepting that what we see on social media just isn't true?
Yes, we should start accepting it. But the problem is, it plays with your psychological mind. When you see so many comments, but of course you know it's not true, but it's very sad and disheartened to hear all this. Of course, when you go to the ground, you don't see people like, oh, this Chinese, this Malay. You don't see that, right? You only see in social media. So yeah, they should start to think that, oh, this is all not real, this is fake.
Do you feel like that when you see it?
Yes, I do feel like that. But it gives a sense and narrative that people are still using this kind of stuff because they know that in general, people still believe in it. If people do not believe in it, then they wouldn't have done all this online, right? If people know it's all fake and all.
So it's up to do you think that at the end of the day, it's the people, the Malaysians have to look in the mirror and ask themselves, what country is their responses, their attitudes leading to?
Yes, they have to start to ask themselves and to play a part as being Malaysians on how to solve these kind of issues as well.
And I think the answer is very simple there. One of the solutions to solving whatever race politics or what is by simply not responding to it.
Yes.
And then
Just
the politicians won't do anything.
Yeah. Keep quiet. Don't respond to anything because when you respond, then they'll use this response and then they create some kind of news and whatnot. So I'm not saying to keep quiet, but we as the voters, we understand the intentions and then we will voice out during election time. See whether you can win or not.
Let's look at what is also another possible defense, if you will, of the using of racial politics. Now, rightfully said, this usage of racial politics has been there since, God knows when, right? 1980s, I remember, I think even when Dato Sri Anwar was part of UMNO as well, the racial politics was there and all that, even before that. Now, one might argue that racial politics is only being used during election time, which is a season for politicking. It isn't. It won't be used when in time of governance. Do you see these race-based parties changing their stances or approach to politics or governing the country if they were to win the elections? And then they might say, look, we are going to stop. Okay, the racial politics was just to get the vote. Now we got the vote, we're in power. Let's govern everyone. Do you see that happening?
Yes, I do see that happening. Because as I said before, we did live in a Malay majority government before. And I think this is all politics to get the votes, the majority race. Because in Malaysian politics, whoever gets the majority support of the majority race wins the election.
Of course.
Wins politics, right? So yes, I think it's all politics. But if you go to governance, that is not so easy because you have to deal with investors, diplomatic ties. You can't use race-based politics every time. It only works maybe if that's why I say the people must be educated enough to know that this is wrong. So when they know it's wrong, then the politicians know that, oh, okay, this is an outdated kind of way to get votes already. Then they'll start to work on the ground like, okay, I need to make sure that the economy system is good, the education system is good, health system is good.
Are you ever concerned about PAS becoming government?
PAS. No. Because as I said, we live.
That was a long pause before
yes.
the
But
answer.
take into consideration because PAS itself has their DHPP, right? And all, but
those are not strong day
not
ones.
strong
They're
enough.
not as
So-
strong as the day one ulama.
yes. So the PAS members themselves must convince the non-Malay community that, look, if we govern, we will ensure that your rights will be protected as well.
But I don't know. I went for an event yesterday, just yesterday in fact, and it was a past event, and I left the event a bit with mixed feelings because the entire event, it was a roundtable discussion, and the entire event was about racial harmony, how we should live together, inclusive, a very plural society and all that. To be very honest, I share your opinion that I think on the ground, generally, I think we are all pretty okay.
Yeah.
There's no issue.
Yes, because that is the culture of Malaysians.
Malaysians, right?
Yes.
So I think when political parties come on and invite people or do events and keep talking about, how we should be together, we should be inclusive and all that, they are creating a figment. They are sort of imagining a problem. They're creating an illusion of a problem that doesn't exist. Right?
Correct.
And then the argument becomes the discussion. Then after that, the initial speeches, the Q&A, all became race-based. All the questions were race-based. Nobody asked the question of, what are you going to do for the country? Like, for example, what are you going to do for the fact that we don't have enough hospitals? What are you going to do with the fact that there are many students who are good students who now cannot get the courses they want when they apply to university? What are you going to do about the fact that, as our Minister of Higher Education said, that it's not a question of race, there's just not enough capacity. What are you going to do about that in terms of tertiary education? These are issues. What are you going to do about the fact that people in Taman Sri Muda every time lose their house when it's a heavy rain? Right? What are you going to do about that? But nobody asks about that. So I feel, and share your thoughts on this, that if we keep supporting race-based politics, we forget about the real issues. The people issues are forgotten.
Yes, that's why each party must rebrand themselves as a party for governance and not only race-based politics parties.
But there is not enough incentive there, right? I mean, you can't blame the politicians because they are just responding to the people. The people, if they continue to support race-based politics will exist.
Then it is time for us to educate ourselves that stop picking and choosing race-based politics.
How would that happen? How would that take shape?
Like now, doing a podcast, educating people, reading a lot, and trying to find, as I said, back to the education system itself. You need to plant the right seeds in the right minds of the young generations. If the young generations know what is right, what is wrong, we don't have this problem right now, right?
When you look at, just in terms of you wanting a Malaysia first, why are you suddenly, why did you write in wanting to talk about Malaysia first? Why is it so important to you?
Because I always felt that I am Malaysian first. And now is the month of Merdeka, Independence Day,
exactly.
Right? So I think that our country is so rich with culture, a lot of diversity, and we must start to accept them, not tolerate them. That is what being Malaysian is all about. And when I see on the ground and social media like, keep fighting and all, I think it's time that people must voice out on what is it like to become Malaysian first, right? That's why I chose this topic.
Interestingly enough, I read a survey before this interview by Merdeka Times again. I think it's Merdeka Center. And they, in that survey of all the races, the Malays, I think more than only 26% or something, a number, 20+%, identified themselves as being Malaysian first. So for this change to happen, I think the change is very much in the hands of political rhetoric, right? Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
That to create a Malaysian first, politicians must stop talking about race.
Yes, correct.
But will it happen? Are we, even in this conversation, are we just being too idealistic?
Well, I do hope it does happen. But again, the people themselves must show to the politicians that we need to stop this kind of racism.
Which is easier to change, the people or the politicians?
The politicians. The people are very difficult to change, actually. Yeah.
So if the people don't change, then the politicians are still going to play that tune, right?
Yes.
Sing that tune
because it's going to benefit the politicians, not benefit the people. They need to change the mindset. They need to change the people because you see, we are the ones that are governing the country. That's why we have elections. We elect the representative, right? Every 5 years. So if we elect out those people who place race-based politics, then they will think that, oh, okay, we understand now that the people do not want race-based politics already. It all starts with the community itself. And the community itself must understand that we need one another to play a part and to serve a good Malaysia. Yeah.
Okay. So what is your message, man, to Malaysia? Let's end it with that. What's your message to Malaysia as the month of Merdeka?
I would like to wish everybody Selamat Hari Merdeka. Be kind to one another. Embrace the diversity. And I do hope during my lifetime I can see a greater and united Malaysians together.
All right, guys, that was Jeremy again sharing his views on being Malaysian first. I think very interesting to hear his opinions. A very young 21-year-old political scientist student, and wish him all the best. Jeremy, thanks for coming on, man.
Right, thank you very much.
So, guys, as always, please share your comments to what was shared by Jeremy and the topics raised, the sub-points raised in this discussion. Always love to hear them. We have many interviews coming your way this time. There's so many interesting topics to discuss this week. So we'll see you all soon, guys. Take care. Bye.